What's up, family? This is your boy Sasha Dunn, and we're tuning into another episode of the Dunn Report. And in this episode, we're going to be featuring the man, the myth, the legend himself, Elliot Hepburn. For those who may not know him, I want you guys to tune in to see what this guy's vision for the Bahamas is. It's really green and it's pretty amazing. Come with me on this journey. Welcome back to the Dunn Report. I have my guest with me right now, Elliot Hepburn, and I'll just let him introduce himself and what he's all about.
All right, Elliot Hepburn, owner of Proper RX and Bahamain here in the Bahamas, Proper RX in Oakland, also on the National Commission for Cannabis here in the Bahamas, and excited for this conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. So, Elliot, where did you grow up as a kid? You grew up in the Bahamas, in America?
I grew up in the Bahamas, in Freeport, more specifically in Igmaro.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'm a Freeport boy.
At some point in time, I assume you left the Bahamas to go to the States to start the whole cannabis thing in Oakland.
Well, before that, yeah, I left in '94 for high school and went to Nebraska and did a few years of high school there, and then started my collegiate journey after that with as a student athlete.
Oh yeah? What kind of sports you played?
I played basketball throughout college and high school.
Oh, okay. So now, the main question I have to actually ask is, what got you down this road of hemp and marijuana? Hold on. In fact, let me correct myself. Through this whole episode, we're going to use the term marijuana, because we can sully the name like that. We can call it by cannabis sativa, or, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's try that.
Well, it was just a luck of the draw, really, how I ended up in the industry. I was working at the front, check-ins of new patients coming in. I got that job just because I would go to the dispensary on my own, and I just was polite, basically, and through me being polite to the people that worked there, within a few weeks they asked me if I wanted a job. I applied, maybe a little under a year working with that organization, and in that time I saw how I wanted to start my business and what I wanted to do, and I found my niche within the industry at that time.
Yeah. So it was like a series of fortunate events that lead you to this whole situation.
Definitely a bunch of events that just coalesced to make it happen for me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at what point did you sit down, like while you was inside the dispensary, and say, I can do this?
Early on, I would say within the first couple of weeks. I had friends that owned dispensaries and had interacted with them prior, and I had a clear understanding of what it was, but I knew the financial obstacles. And I was working in the private sector at that time in social services, actually in the public sector, I should say, in social services. So it wasn't. I felt like I was in my niche and I was comfortable where I was at. But I was constantly seeing the opportunities that I could be having and making in cannabis industry.
Okay. And what year you officially started and said, boom, Proper RX has started this year?
Well, before we had Proper RX, I had a dispensary in Long Beach. So that would have been about 13 years ago. And I unofficially started Proper about 12 years ago.
Okay. So what made you move from Long Beach to Oakland?
They changed the zoning on licensing, so I lost that location. We had to do a lottery where the city council, you had to pay the application fee, and the city council only picked 5 dispensaries. At that time, I think there were 20, and they took it down to 5. So we did the application and lottery, but we weren't picked. So I had found my interests, but I needed to continue it, so I moved up to Northern California and started setting up the framework to create Proper RX.
Now, the one thing I'm pretty sure everybody would be asking is, how did a Bahamian boy, manage to do this? In the sense that, because it seems like a somewhat of an impossible dream that a black guy could own his own dispensary, let alone a Bahamian, do this. Was there a lot of obstacles?
Very much. Still obstacles today, but it was definitely hard, stressful. Financial obstacles are still apparent. Nothing was easy about it, you know. But when you see something you want, and sometimes the ancestors give you a little nudge every time you're down and send you in the right direction, you know, rather than encouraging you to quit. So I got a lot of encouragement to keep going, just by, you know, energy in the universe, just things happening. They just kept it going for me.
What kept you so positive? I remember because I was pretty sure like it was like one obstacle after the next, after the next.
I mean, it was such a struggle. You almost didn't have time, and you don't have time to sit and cry.
Yeah, feel sorry for yourself.
You won't. No, you have to get up and keep going. A lot of a supportive family has been a help, but you know, it's so fast moving. You don't have time to sit down and cry. If you do, you miss out a lot. You have to take that loss or whatever you're going through at that moment and
learn from it.
Learn from it and be ready to do better, you know, sometimes within the next few minutes, because this industry changes so fast.
Now, see, now to put it in proper perspective, like, when you started all this, how old you was?
28-ish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, because I don't want people to feel like you know what you was doing and everything was just perfect for you. And you know what I'm saying?
No, I didn't know anything. I know how to give someone change for the amount that they owe, you know, but as far as how to build this business, definitely didn't know. And I didn't have anyone to lean on for advice or support, so I had to learn on the fly.
And then pulling from your core to try like support yourself almost.
Always, still to this day.
And naturally, I naturally assume that Proper Arcs is a successful business because the mere fact that you were inside the Bahamas right now and it's still moving in Oakland without you being present. So it's to that level.
Yeah, we're old, we're established. That's the oldest black-owned business in cannabis. So we have our obstacles still, but we are definitely established and in the positive.
Okay. Now the question is, that's the Oakland side of the business. Now, could you explain the Bahamian side of the business to me right now?
Well, that's a part of the Oakland side. We actually just got approved from the city council a couple of weeks ago for a storefront. So we'll be doing a storefront in Humboldt County. That'll be opening by the middle of August. So
that's 2 locations.
So that will be our first location in northern California, because Humboldt County is where it all started. So
yeah, because I heard like Humboldt County is like where they started like the real pineapple express almost.
The whole industry started up there in Humboldt County. So we have that location there, and then for the delivery service, I have a delivery service, a manufacturing and a distribution license in the Bay Area, and between all three of those, we service the delivery services. We're in about 245 to 260 zip codes in California, and we're trying to expand to cover the whole state. So those are the main projects going on there currently.
Now, just so you can understand how it works logistically, for me to be able to call you up or hit you up online to get it delivered, I have to be like a card-carrying member of your group or something like that, because...
You have to be 21 and over, because California is now a recreation state. So you have to be 21 and over. And if you're a medical patient, you have to be 18 or over. And if you're medical, you have to have your doctor's recommendation and provide that time of service.
Yeah, so I assume when the delivery guy pulls up, that's when he checks the information or
that's done long before then.
From the internet point?
Yeah, from
point of purchase on the internet?
Yeah, that's all pre-dispatch security that we do. Before the order's ever sent out, all of this information, a bunch of information is required to be sent in and has to be verified before we ever send the driver out.
Now, I don't feel like I'm being facetious by asking all these questions, but the reason why I ask is because for those who may be watching and thinking about how we could transfer the same marijuana culture and business form to the Bahamas. So you gotta correct me. This cannabis business from over there to here, I want to see that there's safety controls in place to stop it from going in the hands of kids or...
I mean, that's what happens when you regulate anything. You know, you control the access points, all of that stuff. We don't control and we don't regulate cannabis now. So, and right now, for the most part, it seems to be okay if the kids have access to it.
And see, and that's the ridiculousness and the whole argument to me in the sense that people say, "Oh, we ain't gonna legalize it," but without it being legal, it's still here and present. Because at any point in time, you want to get a pound of dope. Anybody get a pound of dope, they know where to get it from, even though it's illegal. And that's always my argument. But we ain't going to the arguments right now. We here to talk about the visions for when we get over this ignorant point in history. You know what I'm saying? So, in the Bahamas, you have set up a non-for-profit organization.
Yeah.
What's the name of
The nonprofit is called Bahamas Cannabis Initiative. Yeah, that's open to all Bahamians to help in advocacy and pushing to get legalization and more rights and access to patients.
Okay, and business side will be called?
That would be Bahama Can, and that's a wing focusing on the laws and actual investment within the industry.
Okay, now the question I'd ask is, what would be your vision for the Bahamas, let's say 10 years from now, if everything was to go as planned?
Oh, and 10 years from now, we have a robust industry. Unemployment is down. Thousands of Bahamians are employed. We've probably made 150 to 350 new millionaires within the country. Tourism is integrated with the industry as well, so we're seeing higher returns and higher revenue rates. Global partnerships are in place. Export is happening of our products. Our products are becoming recognized globally, and demand for our products are growing. A true sustainable industry.
Now, that's for the idealistic future. Now, worst case scenario, what do you see happening? Let's say if they do legalize it, but it's done incorrectly, what will be the incorrect way to you?
Well, no routes for licensing for the average Bahamian would be the incorrect way. Distributing licensing only to foreigners and huge entities, not giving Bahamians an opportunity for upward mobility, that would be a horrible thing as well. Just stifling the industry, creating an industry that's so restrictive that it's not able to be profitable and benefit the country. So there's quite a few ways to be stupid about it.
Yeah. How do you feel about the idea of, let's say, because people, their mind is so caught in a frequency of fear that they feel that somehow the government knows best and how to do this. How do you feel about the government being the sole provider of this cannabis industry?
I don't think that's even realistic or sustainable. They couldn't do it. It's just too hard.
Yeah.
And governments change pretty frequently in our country, so the infrastructure that would be needed, the attention to detail that's needed, I just haven't seen many governments that seem to want to spend that much time. Most of the focus is on figuring out, tracking the product from seed to sale and figuring out which points in there are taxable points for revenue. So I think that's traditionally the biggest focus of governments as they think about how to wrangle this beast,
Because naturally, it's hard for government to run government, to try to give them an extra field to deal with. I'm pretty sure that just adds even more problems.
An extra thousands of fields.
Because when people usually think of cannabis, they usually just think of people smoking it.
Naturally.
But then, in your mind, what do you think is the bigger industry? The smoking part of it, or the industrial side of it, where you use cannabis to make hempcrete and wood and
smoking
biofuel?
Just the human consumption component by far is the most profitable currently. For the health benefits, the recreational uses in the places that are recreational just far exceed. I mean, California alone, did $10.5 billion 2 years ago. We did 2.5 this past year because we had a lot of bumps in legislation and that hurt the market. But California alone did $10.5 billion. The industry is expected to exceed 30, 40, 50, 60 billion. I mean, you name it, like hempcrete and industrial hemp is a very profitable and lucrative industry, but projections are just a little different for
Yeah, because I think that's a more of a long-term projection, because now the industrial side has to be introduced to the industry and then become industry standard and all that other stuff.
Well, the industry will go, the industrial hemp industry will go with demand. If there isn't a demand for hempcrete, it won't.
It just won't go, yeah.
There are a lot of those products that can be made. If there's no demand for them, then they won't be made. So, currently, industrial hemp is doing really, really well with healthcare and cosmetics and all that stuff. It's doing really, really well. So we'll see what the future holds.
One of the things I feel that needs to be almost clarified or demystified is this idea of medical marijuana, because I've had this interaction with someone before. There's like, hey, I ain't for these brothers on the block smoking the dope, but I cool with people smoking medical marijuana, as if in some way the weed that someone consumes for cancer is different from the weed, not necessarily weed, let's say cannabis, that they consume for recreational uses is totally different. I need you to just demystify that and say, is there a difference?
The only difference would be what register you picked it up at or who you picked it up from. There's no difference. Like, the recreational OG Kush, for example, that's sold in the dispensary is the same as the recreational, as the medical OG Kush that's sold. There's no difference. There's no different plant. There isn't a special OG plant that's medical, and then this one is recreational. None of that exists. But that's a part of the education programs that like the committee and different groups are trying to wage, just to educate people so we make a sensible decision on it, not a uninformed decision.
And to even address that, to address that situation, because you're part of the committee that goes. What's the goal of the committee? They just explain it to the people. What is the goal of the?
To codify the opinion of Bahamian, so the Bahamian people, around cannabis and the legalization of it.
So you guys are going to put together a big report and then turn it over to who?
The cabinet.
And then the cabinet's going to sit down and read this and then make a decision what they're going to do with it.
This is what the prevailing thought is.
I mean, I hate to sound all weird in my cadence when I ask these questions, but see, and the reason why I said that is because to make it illegal, was the same process put in place?
Was a committee formed and had 9 months to come up to a no, definitely not.
So,
and I would say it was informed for the opioids that we brought in or the alcohol either. So but
because that freaked me out too. Because when you say opioids, I met a guy who was a pharmacist, and he explained to me that he can actually dispense cocaine legally inside a pharmacy. Actually, I was like, that shocked me. So for it to be legal for someone to dispense opioids, whether derivatives of cocaine and heroin or morphine, whatever, but we have a problem with the plant. What do you think the problem is with that plant, though, that causes this whole controversy?
The history is clear. It's been demonized for a long time. The devil's in the details for who uses this product, who it benefits. The devil is definitely in the details, if you really want to know. For sure, that would be the best way for me to answer that.
Yeah, because you know where it leads to. But beyond that point, the legal side of the business, how soon do you see that becoming legal in the Bahamas?
That I don't know.
Foreseeable.
That I don't know. That remains to be seen. That will be a situation that we're waiting. That will be answered once cabinet makes their vote. That will be my answer to that. With what I know about the industry is that we don't have a lot of time to make this decision and still be able to reap some of the economic benefits that can come with it. So the window's closing because more and more countries are coming online.
Yeah, and that's my question. What do you mean by there's a window closing? Like, could you explain that to me?
Well, other countries are coming online and it's market share. Once the market share is gone, I don't know where it comes back from. That's the market, like people have their, so we're trying, we need to be able to get into the industry in time to allow for all of the smaller parts of our industry that need to be developed to actually have a chance to develop, to be able to bring products to market on a sustainable level.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big problem.
Now, there's so many questions that I want to ask, because do you see a correlation between the violence in the streets and the illegalization of marijuana?
I'm sure there's a lot of correlation between the two. I mean, it's a form of income, you know, so people can defend their livelihood, especially when we have high unemployment rates and all these other things that we face. So yeah, it's a form of income, and if licensing isn't tied to it, it's the whole operation is tied to a person, then removing that person means another business can pop up. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of correlations between the two.
Because that leads me to this question. Inside Oakland, the crime rate between, like, let's say, people robbing drug dealers inside, because since it's only you all now, because do drug dealers still exist in Oakland? I mean, like a local...
You have drug dealers that sell drugs, that sell, you know, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine.
Well, you don't know, yeah.
And then you have cannabis dispensaries that sell medicine, and then you have, you know, the street dealers that would sell what we would traditionally call weed, all being the same.
Are they still present inside the same standard numbers that they was before the market became legal, or was the numbers reduced in some way?
I would say drug dealing is still pretty prevalent everywhere, even where medical or recreational marijuana exists. I definitely think it might offset it enough. It might offset it somewhat in numbers, but we do have, that is one of the ills of society. I mean, and we have an abundance of it. So,
and I think it's because you guys are only how much years into this whole legalization process right now?
Well, California started in 1996. So they've been legal in California from 96 for medical, from 96 until 2017. And we transitioned to recreational. So we have medical and recreational. So it's been a while.
So it's a process, it's a working process, basically.
I mean, it's one that we're continuously building on. I mean, we felt, I guess the state felt like they mastered the medical and we're ready to embrace recreational. So it's work in progress. We get better each year.
I mean, naturally, we're being a part of that process. The whole process of first making it medical marijuana first, and then decriminalizing it, and then making it recreational. You see that as a smooth process for society and government, as opposed to just wanting to just out the gate, just deregulating it, demarketing it. I mean,
no, I think that depends on the population, how astute the population is and informed on the topics, how much to get the government or the powers to be might spend to educate them on the truth about the topic. You know, I would say that there's a specific way to do it. You've seen countries go and do it in different ways. Start, you know, from the beginning of being legal, and other countries walk it down for medical. So it really varies and depends on the people in that country, the leadership, the electorate, and how educated they really are.
A fear that I got from speaking to certain advocates is, their fear is what is happening in Jamaica right now, where they're decriminalizing it. But now what is happening is you have these big corporations from America and Europe coming over there and buying a massive tracts of land, and then almost shunning the locals out of the industry. Do you see that happening inside the Bahamas?
There's definitely potential for it. I mean, we don't own any of our industries currently, so I mean, it'd be foolish to believe that it couldn't happen to us as well. It's definitely apparent, you know, but we have certain suggestions that we put into the committee. There are programs like equity programs that exist around the world to help and level the playing field and allow for people of color or disenfranchised members of the community to get into this industry. But that will remain to be seen if the government will embrace that approach wholeheartedly, or if we will take the approach that we're very familiar with the foreigners.
Now, my question wouldn't be just posing to you as a member of the committee, but rather just you as a person. How do you feel about reparations to those, like, let's say tomorrow they was to legalize marijuana in this country, what would you feel would be a sensible way to repair that what was done to those who was incarcerated for moving a couple of pounds of dope? I mean, let's not call it dope, cannabis once again.
I mean, a certain level of expungement, if certain situations were met.
Non-violence, I assume.
Non-violence, I mean, do we expunge someone that was caught with 50 pounds as well? Like, there has to be a sensible range in there.
I mean, personally, if you ask me, it's all dope, you know what I'm saying? No matter how much it is, whether it's 1,000 pounds or there's 2 grams,
Mm-hmm.
if you legalize it, you got to do it across the board for everybody, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there are ways that should be done, and if you have a free market with no regulation, then you don't have a legalized and regulated market.
No. What I mean, I was talking about reparations in the sense.
I know, but that's what I'm referring to. Like, the amount, the quantities will matter as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, even if laws come out, like in California, you can't have as many pounds as you want. That's just absurd. And if you think that they have a jail cell waiting for you, recreational marijuana does not mean that everyone else can keep as much as they want. That's just absurd. So, and if they think that, then, you know, like I say, they have an excess of jail cells waiting for anyone that thinks that. Reasonable, sensible limits. We have to look at it reasonable and sensible. X amount is naturally distribution, intent to supply. There's a certain component of the law that we know exists that thrives on incarceration. We can't act like all of a sudden cannabis will change that feeling or that sentiment within law enforcement.
Yeah.
So we have to be very realistic about it. But I wouldn't agree with just a blanket expungement. Yeah, you know, I mean, we have to be sensible about it. I mean, and there are international standards and global standards that have been set on these things. There are precedents there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, because I guess what we don't want to do is find a way to grandfather cartels into the business, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and we want to have a well thought of law. We want to put real thought to the whole process.
Right now, do you feel the society is ready for legalization?
I mean, the society has said they are, based off of the polling that Bahamain did last year. We were in excess of 70% support. So I think society has spoken already on it. It doesn't matter what I feel, they've spoken.
Yeah. So, realistically, what do you think would be the next sensible steps to take right now?
Well, based off of what they have us doing with the committee, I mean, creating a report that makes sense and is clear and concise as to our suggestions. Like I said, those are only suggestions from the committee. The answers will come out of cabinet. But there are many levels of this industry that need to start. There are many things that don't even have to do with actually touching the plant that need to come in place into our country in order for us to have a sustainable industry. So, you know, those are things of concern, getting those in place, and building. It's like we built, you know, we don't even have a lab testing facility here for products, so it's hard for us to tell the efficacy, the potency, a lot of things of these products that we have, that we intend to supply with, that you know, maybe even doctors are allowed to import. We need to have a way of testing those products. That's something that's pretty paramount. You can't have a cannabis industry of no form if you don't have a way of testing your products, because you can't guarantee what's in the products, therefore you can't guarantee anyone's health.
Wow. That's like mind blowing. So the lab doesn't exist over here right now currently.
Currently, no.
So I see everyone now actually trying to fight against the CBD oil, because people are now importing CBD oil for the medical purposes and everything. What's your stance on that? I
mean, CBD is sold in Walmarts and Walgreens and at my pet stores and everything in the U.S. So it's I guess it's a little bit of a lapse in awareness and education of the products and the compounds associated with these products. I think it could be good for government to get up to speed with those things. But I think if you see how benign it is elsewhere, how it's sold everywhere, it's very, very benign.
Another question I'd like to ask, because I know it may seem like, once again, being facetious, but just to see the logistics of how the business would work. Inside Oakland, how do you source the sativa itself?
You get your products from your distributor, or in years past, you cultivated as an owner yourself, or you had farms that were under your umbrella that you would receive products from, but you cultivate, you know.
And then,
or in this new era that we have now, the growers and the people with the cultivation license, or the companies with cultivation licenses, once they're ready to go to market, they have partnerships with distributors. Products then exchange hands between the cultivator and the distributor, and the distributors distribute products to retail locations across the state. They have sales folks that go out and create sales, and you receive your order on your designated date.
And it's never really a case where you run out and you have to find some kind of like sorted back alley sauce.
If you get caught selling a sourced back alley product, you lose your license.
One shot. So it never really comes to that level, I naturally would assume, because
you have a choice to make. I'm sure some people make bad choices and lose their license. I mean, you have a choice to make, you know, as everyone does in life. You have a choice to make, if that will be a part of your business model or not. And I choose to stay by the book.
With it being recreational, is it allowed for the average person to grow their own plants?
With certain caveats or requirements, but yes, there's, and it varies by state. It's not a monolithic view on it. Each state has its own population that votes on what they want within their state.
See, because the reason why I ask is because I'm thinking of all the arguments I've heard thus far from people. Like, one of the arguments I heard was, if you legalize it, how would it be profitable? Because people could grow it themselves. Why would they buy from someone else if they could just grow it themselves in their backyard?
That's a short-sighted opinion on it.
Naturally, yeah.
We all have lemons in our yard growing, and limes in our yard growing, but we all buy lemonade, right?
You know what I'm saying? We all can bake our own bread, but we go to the store and buy bread.
Yeah, it's a decision we make, like most things.
So, you know, and that's why I asked that question about the plants thing, because you're still making sales, even though people can grow their own plants, right?
Oh, I mean, in excess of, like I said, on a horrible year where most of the industry was closed for 4 or 5 months because of lack of products and availability of products, just because of the licensing changes that we were going through as a state. And we still do $2.5 billion in revenue. I mean, that says it all.
Now, the amazing part to me is, how do you guys overcome the situation with banking? Because you earn a lot of money. Where could you now put this because of
state banks? It's not, I mean, you know, the banks that are backed by the federal government may be an issue, but you have state banks and credit unions that are options as well. So it's an obstacle, but it's one that you do have options with.
Okay. So, and overall, I mean, because overall, I think I've asked you for the most part what I can ask, because it's still illegal for a young brother right now who's like, let's say, 16 right now, and his mind, his vision, and his vision for the future is, well, I'll be the first millionaire inside cannabis sativa in the Bahamas. What would you suggest to him? Or her right now?
Do it. I mean,
and when you say do it, you mean just get a pound? Is that selling a pound?
No. But if that's what you want to do, you have to set that goal and do it. You know, not illegally, because, you know, naturally you're seeing that we are moving in that direction. So if your ultimate goal is to get into this industry, you have to be, you know, aggressive as to how you're going to do it. Is it going to be, if you're independently wealthy, you have access to funding and stuff, you're in a really good place. But if not, you have to find an apprenticeship or someone or an organization to take you under your wing. Under their wing. You also have to spend a lot of time in reading and understanding what it is exactly you're trying to get into. There's a lot of knowledge to be garnered out of books. You know, I mean,
what books would you suggest for them?
Depends on what their goals are. I mean, if they're interested in cultivation, then there are a lot of cultivation books. You know, the Cultivation Bible I mean, there are cultivation guide. There are a lot of books that you can dive into, immerse yourself in, and really learn.
I think.
I did that in my first years when I was going to work and starting my own business in my evenings. I spent a lot of time reading those stuff. That's how come I was comfortable enough to start a grow and build out a grow. And
because you know what the product was.
I read, and then I practiced. You know, so you have to read. No one in this industry, no one's going to tell you how to get rich. Like just like anything else, no one's going to give you that recipe. You have to figure it out if you want it.
So beyond that, you are confident that this is one of the best things for the Bahamas?
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to change the country in a way that we haven't seen before. Just the potential for new millionaires that look like me and you.
So I just want to ask you this, I guess as a final question. Where do you see the Bahamas? Because I know I said 10 years, but let's say 50 years down the line, with this being decriminalized and this being like the average, normal run-of-the-day thing like water. How do you see the Bahamas? Do you see the Bahamas being like prosperous or something like that?
We got other obstacles like that with
global warming
and stuff. So where will we be in 50 years? But 50 years from now, I'll be 90 years old. Wow. So, and if we have done this, we've made this transition, and you know, this would just be a part of the awakening. You know, I mean, just think if we as a country open our eyes to this, imagine what is possible. Because this has been a strong, firm, solid, no, you're wicked, you're a demon, all this stuff for years. So imagine if we get past this and this becomes economy, commerce, an industry in our country, imagine the potential we have moving forward. Because we took on the biggest bully that we were afraid of, you know what I mean? Like, and just to put it bluntly, so I think the potential could be endless at that point, you know, for our young kids. I mean, I have two younger brothers behind me, and neither of them are employed right now. So I think 50 years from now, we could have, you know, maybe single digits unemployment, and like I said, at 50 years, maybe. Because of what we're trying to do now, maybe, I don't know, maybe an additional 1,500 millionaires that have been created within our industry, Bahamians that we don't have. Do we have 1,500 Bahamian millionaires currently?
Doubt it. I mean, I know this is slightly doubted. But I guess also at the same point, I have to play devil's advocate, which is, for those who we look at it and say, which is all of us looking at cannabis, sativa, as this panacea that's going to fix everything. I mean, what would you say to that person? Is it going to fix everything?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't make someone smart, you know, so it won't make you think, it won't make you read, so it won't fix everything. We have a lot of problems. And I don't know if it's any particular element or product that's brought in more than us being accountable as Bahamians. We have to be accountable for what we do. We have allowed certain things to fester in our country, and we're in the situation we're in currently. You know, I've never advocated to any of my patients or anyone that I know that's truly sick that cannabis is the end all be all. If you have cancer, for example, and you go out every day and you eat fast food, and greasy food, and all that stuff, and you come home and you take your medical cannabis thinking that medical cannabis is going to cure all. You are doing more every day to destroy yourself than that cannabis can do to save you. So you have to help yourself. Cannabis works great if you're helping yourself. If you aren't helping yourself, cannabis is about as useless as anything else. You know, you have to help it help you.
That's true. At some point, I really wanted to end, but then there's so many issues tied to this one issue. Like right now, there's a controversy of the Rastas right now fighting the government right now for their legal right. I mean, what are your views on that situation?
I mean, I agree. I agree with Priest Rithman and what they've been doing. He's also a committee member. That community, as well as all of our men, whether they have locks or bald head, have been impressed when it comes to this product. So I commend them for taking a stance. We aren't known for taking those types of stances in our country. I don't know what's the precedent for it, but I know that they've done it, and I commend them for it. You know, it's a big move.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I really hope the best for them, because it really was the Rastaman, I guess, who was standing for the longest time, from time immemorial, saying that this is the healing of the nation. And it seems that the nations now have caught up to this idea, and now they want to shun them aside and be like, yeah, okay, Rasta, stand aside, please. Let's.
In our regions. I mean, I can't tell you how much board meetings I've been in, and I've seen Rastas in the board meetings. So elsewhere, outside of this country, they aren't as marginalized as one would think. I guess I've been in many board meetings, seen a Bobo or a Rasta in our board meeting, and he has just as much respect as the white man with the bald head. You know, so it's an interesting thing.
So yeah, because that's the whole thing to me about this whole new cannabis industry. The way I'm looking at it is like, we're back 100 years ago, like when they first discovered oil in Penn State. That was the big oil rush back then. I feel like this is the big green rush right now, and none of us are seeing, like in the Bahamas at least, the mean populace. Because take for instance, they had a town meeting that you was to the other night, and I was there also. I felt like it wasn't represented by the real average Bahamian. Like only a select few knew about it. It wasn't inside where the average Bahamian, who were actually suffering from unemployment and all these social ills, would know about this opportunity. So I mean, like in the future going forward, what do you think would be better for you guys in dealing with that situation as a community?
Well, I mean, you know, it's a tough one. People, like I say, we have to be more complicit in our success. We should be more aware of what's going on around us and speak up. This is such a big opportunity, and I hear such varying opinions. Some of them very, very outlandish. More times than not, very, very uninformed, but speaking very loudly about it. But those will be the same folks that, if it goes the way they're expecting it to go, that they're not willing to fight to change. Will be the same folks talking about how this ruling class is so unfair and this, that, and the third. You know what I mean?
But
so
the opportunity
to level the playing field somewhat.
And they're seeing it.
So yeah, exactly. So if you have to be very mindful of who you take advice from.
But I really appreciate the time you sit down with us and try to educate us. And for anybody to get in contact with you, how would they be able to get in contact with you, bro?
Best way would be via email, properrx@gmail. Would probably be the best way, properrx@gmail. And if you put attention Elliot, it'll pop up right for me.
Solid. Also, can Bahamians buy shares into Proper RX?
Yes. Well, we have a little, not necessarily Proper RX specifically. I know Central Bank has some guidelines around purchasing of shares and all that, but Bahamain will be in the very near future doing some public offerings and stuff as well. So
really, that's what's up.
Yeah,
that's tight, man. People, I need y'all to look this brother up, follow him in the future. Keep your eyes on the prize. Our prize is trying to get this thing legalized. And I ain't trying to rhyme, but you know what I mean? This is what we need right now. We need something to help push this country forward. We need something brand new. We've been doing this tourism thing. We don't own this tourism thing. We need a new industry that's going to take us forward and leap us and allow us to make that quantum leap into this new century. You know what I'm saying? So I salute everyone. I salute my brother for coming through.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks,
Appreciate it, man. And I'd like you all to just, like I say, follow Elliot Hepburn, Proper RX, and keep it up, man. Thanks a lot, The Dunn Report.
It's Elliot Hepburn here, and you're tuned in to the Dunn Report.
What's up, family? You're tuning in with your boy Sasha Dunn, and there's another episode of the Dunn Report. I want you guys to subscribe, like, and follow the channel for your family. Y'all take care. Salute.